story where a girl committed suicide, and this was just because she was forced to do a combination that was not according to her wish. And that is one thing also we need to understand. We need to make sure that issues of career guidance, that it's given serious attention, because if at all we are not giving serious attention, such issues are going to be arising. How do we make sure the issues of forged academic documents is eliminated?
Like just you have mentioned the issue of career guidance, you need to sit your child down. Like a child has already finished the senior 4 O level, has already finished the A level. What kind of career does the child want to pursue? Or as you as a parent, you want the child to pursue, you will have to engage the child early, or as your student early. You know, still going back, flashing back to the sector of UPDF, of late, I don't know if you are aware of it, people are actually using UPDF sector as an option. When the other options fail, you will see them running for UPDF, because the fact remains people don't desire that work so much. But I should tell them that it should not be an option to them. They should actually have that feelings for it, that desire for it. And world is dynamic, world is becoming dynamic. This one is now relating what actually you have given about how of late kids have been treated, how of late parents, where is the guidance, neighbors, they bring up, where is the nurture their kids. World is dynamic, and relating that one to modernity. That's why I'd said of late you see kids are actually the ones, the children are actually the ones actually upkeeping the family. You will see them going to streets, going to roadside
collecting plastics. It used to be caveras in the markets, but it is now collecting bottles.
They collect, they sell them, they bring the money home. And yet, when
what does that show of the parents right now in terms of fulfilling their obligations?
Of course, you will see that they are going down. Parents are going down in terms of the responsibilities they are supposed to give to their kids.
Okay.
Like you are having a kid of 5 years old going to the streets, collecting bottles, selling water in the streets. What does it mean? What volume does it raise about you as a parent? That's why I was saying world is now dynamic. It's no longer how we are actually generated. People are saying that it's modernity, but I don't see modernity in it.
Talking about neglect of parental duties as a result of financial constraints, that is also really something where the government of Uganda, they come up with issues of socio-economic transformation. And yesterday we are here with Job Richard Matua talking about socio-economic transformation. And this is also actually a reason as to why we are seeing when an opportunity is announced, the numbers that always apply is overwhelming. It means that people are not doing well. And that is also really something where we cannot hide. It means that people are out there searching for these jobs and the jobs are not there. It means people need to create the jobs, and the government of Uganda has actually also most often asked for to do that. And that is one thing also really where we did see strategies such as the parish development model coming up, the Myogas and the Bonabagaga, the youth livelihood, the Ntandikwa, to mention but a few, are all there to also really make sure that people move out of the poverty line. And that is also really a strategy by the government to support them in there. But this is also really hitting a snag in most of the parts where we have gotten to realize that people have misused this money. Look at what is happening in Greater Nebi, in the areas of Zombo, Nebi Pakwach. This money is actually said to be, part of this money is actually said to be missing, and that recently called for intervention by Office of the President, where money worth millions and millions is also really tried to be recovered in there, because some of the circles have disbanded, and we have also gotten to realize that some of these people who borrowed the money have either disappeared or are hiding somewhere. And what does that mean? And now this has called upon the leaders of also they are looking them also to come out and say that they are looking forward to supporting the government in terms of realizing the dream in terms of in poverty elevation here through these poverty eradication programs, for instance the Myoga. And we've got to realize that people are misusing this money. Recently I was in Terego and the same issues also came out, and the other day I was in Maracha. The same issues when you talk about PDM comes in there, because people borrow the money and they are not using the money for the right causes. At the end of the day, are we going to see government realize its dream? And who exactly is to blame for this poverty? Is it now the government, or it is the citizens? And if it's the government or it's the citizens, why do you say so?
Actually, relating this one into the adequate of the job opportunities we have in the country, people have failed to understand the reason as to why they go to school. They think that once you go to school, maybe you have finished a level, of course immediately you have to get a government job. That's what people are aiming at, not knowing that after finishing, you will have to be very, very creative. And you will see that people who are actually suffering after finishing their studies are the people who have gone to school. They do not know the reason as to why they have gone to school. On top of that, they are not creative. You see them overlapping here and there, blaming people, blaming the government here and there. So now coming to the issue of government projects, more especially Paris development model, government is doing its best to see that actually people, of course, are engulfed as far as development is concerned. And it's true, you go to the other parts of the country, not only within West Nile region, but this time narrowing it within the region of West Nile, particularly in the Lu region. It's true, some people are misusing government funds, which of course will help them better. Like you have been given, because for Paris development model, each person, each family of course is given 1 million, which can even change the life of the family for more than 5 years, even 10 years. It can change the life of the family even up to 50 years. Okay. But people are misusing it. They are having that negative mentality that this is something which is for government.
That brings me to the question, did you actually benefit from the money? Were you one of those people that got the money? And if you got the money, what have you used it for?
Not real, but, not real, but I've seen my close relatives. They have been actually one of the beneficiaries of the project. Some of them are using the money very well. They have actually gained a lot from it, benefiting a lot of it. But others, they are misusing the money, as you have said, for doing awkward things. Others have got the money. They have used the money for buying beds. Like if you never had a mattress before, you have not.
Others. We have always seen them moving with these things.
Yeah, exactly. People are misusing that money, just that mentality. There was a time someone told me that one of the beneficiaries told me that actually this is a government money. Who will follow him? Okay. And yet at the end of the period, when the period elapses, you will have to return the money. Okay. And you wait and see. People who have benefited out of it, you wait and see. At the moment, they will now be in need of the money. Okay. That's when you will be.
Talking about that, relatedly, we are going to be seeing the Ugandan lawmakers reconsider the nation's 2024-2025 spending budget after Yoweri Kaguta Museveni declined to also sign into law, and the move is a rare move for Museveni, who has oftentimes just signed into law. And this also comes to the issues of the budget, also misappropriation, where we did see some also legislators being pinned also for tampering with the budget in there. And what does that mean? And now we have seen the CSOs coming out to condemn the government also for this misappropriation. What can you say about this exactly?
Yeah, looking at the
for legislators to come and also really make sure they have a proportion, what we call the percentage. It means a percentage issue has now reached Parliament, because many of times here when people are working, they always say my percentage, my percentage. We have seen this also really among the youth, where we're always saying percentage. It means percentage has reached Parliament. What can you say about this exactly?
You know, the issue of percentage is something which has been there before, but people have taken it as a priority, and it comes with its own benefits, I should say advantages, and on the other side it also has got its disadvantages. And what are some of its disadvantages, and at the same time what are some of its advantages? And people who of course who are supposed to give us the direct path, direct road, that's what I mean. If they also start engaging themselves into the issue of percentages, where are we heading? Where are we heading? Of course, you know, the issue of budget, national budget, is something not easy. You may draw it, and at the end it may benefit the whole country, or as when you draw it, it may also affect the whole country, but also bring in the other sector of percentage. I think this is something which will take time. I know Parliament will discuss massively about it, whether to nullify it or else to go with it. But it will be having its advantages and also its disadvantages. But the advantage part of it I am looking forward is, of course, I am looking at the people who are trying to engulf it.
That means the percentage will be going to them, because many of them actually during these corrupt tendencies have come out to say that they use the money with the electorates. And what does that mean? Because there's really a message that is being passed here, because I feel if at all they got the money and used it with the electorates, it means the electorates have also really, in one way or the other, in my own opinion, have contributed to that. I don't know what you think about it, but that is a discussion for another time. And now we have seen in a scathing critique, the civil society budget advocacy group has accused Parliament of disregarding regarding the needs of Ugandans during the 2024-2025 financial year budget, and this comes after President Yoweri Museveni returned the appropriation bill expressing concerns over the reallocation of shillings 750 billion away from government priorities. And we did see Mr. Julius Makunda, the executive director of CS BAG, lamented that Parliament's decision to reallocate funds for personal or political gain is a fundamentally wrong also issue that also really tampers with the budget in there. And if we want that such corrupt practices erode public trust and also deprive citizens of essential services, because money that was initially meant for a road could just go in somebody's pocket, who at the end of the day is going to be sharing this with the voters. That means also there's a message really I feel that is being passed here, and I believe a lot of money that is actually being spent on campaigns could be causing this.
Yeah, you look at the issue of campaign always drains a lot of money. The period is almost nearing where you will see the money being spent or is injected heavily in a campaign, because political things, you will always see it consuming a lot of money. You know, this issue of budget, and not only within few months, or within few days, maybe few weeks, this thing will continue until the end of the financial year and also at the beginning of the next financial year. And now the campaign is coming, where the politicians, the successful politicians, will of course be given a lot of money, and like you said, the other sectors, the money which could have been used for developing infrastructure will be going to the diverted to the other sector, which will affect the development of the country, because people don't look at the development of the country political-wise.
Leaving that aside, Benson, as we are just left with about 4 minutes to wind up with our first hour of the show, refugee communities and disaster-prone areas are set to benefit from shillings 3.7 billion. That is from a Japanese grant and aimed at delivering life-saving integrated section, reproductive health also and rights, and gender-based violence in there. And I believe our communities are actually not spared from this vice of gender-based violence, despite all these several initiatives to make sure so that we eradicate the vice. But this has not also yielded very much fruits. And today we are also talking about gender-based violence. And if you move to the Child and Family Protection Unit, you realize that also really now that they have also really been also really given a new office, the numbers of people coming to report cases of family neglect, where also really somebody just leaves the family and goes and says, I'm not going to take care of this family, I have abandoned the family. Such issues are very, very high at the Child and Family Protection Unit. And this is one thing also really we are seeing coming from that area. And we did see now also to address the concerns, 3.7 billion Japanese grant is going to be helping in addressing these issues more so among the refugees and disaster-prone areas, which also really say to be very, very much hit by the vice of gender-based violence. And really that's one thing also really we are looking forward to. And Mr. Gift Malunga, the United Nations Population Fund Agency Country Representative, while speaking at the launch of the Delish program on Saturday in Kampala, decried access to sexual reproductive health services. And I really want to understand how often are these services closer to you, and how maybe when people need them, how accessible are the services more so in relation to sexual reproductive health?
You look at the issue of domestic violence, it has been going extremely high. Like every day you will see that the cases are very many, but you will realize that only very few are reported at the reporting point. And talking about the project that is coming from the Japanese to the refugees, it has to be there. And some weeks ago we had
for the World Refugee Day, both in Arua City and in Terego District.
Japanese ambassador was actually here in West Nile region. He witnessed everything. Maybe his presence here in West Nile region might have yielded fruit for the refugees we have in the country, because you look at the country at large, much of the population is actually in West Nile region, particularly at Bidibidi settlement. He was part of the celebration because the whole of Uganda was celebrated here in Rhino Kambi, where the population is very dense. Maybe he has witnessed some of the challenges the refugees continue to encounter. The message was already reached back to his home country. Maybe that is why we have seen the project now on the ground. And we pray that it will benefit them. We also pray that corrupt termites will not be there actually to consume the money.
Okay, talking about corrupt termites, they will always be there. but I believe the law also needs to take care of its own. And this is also really where we want to make sure that those who are with corrupt tendencies do not actually occupy the office. They must be kicked out because they are also really slowing down our development. And if you look at the Agenda 2030, we are also supposed to enter the middle income status. And this is already where we are supposed to end poverty. And if you look at 2024, today, this is the 7th month, we are just left with also less than also half of the months to also wind up with the year in there. That means very soon we shall be entering into another year. And we each and every day we are getting closer to 2030, where we also needed to end poverty. And that means already there's a lot more that needs to be done. In just 30 seconds, as we get to move on with the show for the first break of the show.
Actually, I want to summarize with the last point you have mentioned. By 2030, the poverty tendency, of course, will have to be there. This one takes me back to the discussion we actually had about the PDM, the projects that have been implemented by the government to erupt with the poverty. People are misusing it. How comes that by 2020, is there really a chance, probability that by 2030, the poverty level, not only in the country, all over the world, specifically this time, let me take a look at Uganda. What is the chance, the probability that it might be minimized if people are misusing the government projects?
Okay, that means it calls for solid the responsibility, where you need to start assessing and checking your pockets and ask yourself if at all you are still going to be within the poverty line by 2030, because 2030 is actually when the world set the agenda and the sustainable development goals to make sure that they eradicate poverty. And that means me and you who is out there, we must start assessing ourselves if at all we are still going to be lying within the poverty index. And that brings us to the end of the first hour, and we shall be continuing in the second hour. My name is Farish Majid, and I'm still together with Oracle Benson Pastore, and this is the KOKOLIRIKO live show, the Tuesday edition. We bounce back shortly. Stay tuned.
West Nile TV, lighting up the region. Mbappe, Cristiano Ronaldo, Harry Kane, Sané, Griezmann, Lewandowski, and many more. Who is your European star? We are very familiar with all German stadia. Trust us to give you the best Euro experience affordably. Catch the matches live on NBS Sport, channel 255 on antenna, or channel 199 on Dish Decoder on Star Times. We got your stars. This message is brought to you by StarTimes Solar. StarTimes Solar, more than just solar.
West Nile TV, lighting up the region.
O'clock. Welcome back from that short commercial break. We are 4 minutes already into our second hour of the show. That means also really we are yet continuing with the discussions, and I'm still with Oracle Benson Pastore, one of our journalists, and who happens to also really be a sports pundit. But for now, we are still discussing issues in general, and he will be giving that comprehensive analysis of some of the issues also that did transpire in the world of sports, right from Saturday and also Sunday and Monday as well. And he has also already a lot that he has gathered, and that is where he will be also really telling you in relation to what is happening in the world of sports. But for now, we want to also look at what are some of the stories that also really are transpiring in the society, and we want to make sure that we uplift the society, and the society changes to also really be a good one. And one of those issues that also really that is threatening the lives and security of the people in relation to health is the outbreak of smallpox in the Democratic Republic of Congo. And if you really realize that also this is a disease that actually at some time back hit the world, and this is a disease most common known as Ongurwa here. I don't know if at all you attacked, because there are myths surrounding this disease, because most times people say if at all it attacks you, it will never attack you again. And the same thing was also said to be in the red eye, that if at all you contract it, it will never also really attack you again. I don't know how true these myths are, but these are things already the World Health Organization is coming out to explain and let us know that also there is now an outbreak in the Democratic Republic of Congo, and this has also raised the concern of the leaders as a possible also the outbreak may also really encounter the neighboring countries in there. And this is already as the disease of viral load is already said to be increasing. In that monkeypox, officially known as monkeypox, was already described, the World Health Organization is spreading through sexual intercourse and other forms of physical contact in there. And data from World Health Organization also indicates that in 2024, alone as of May 26th, and at least 7,851 monkeypox cases were reported in DRC. I don't know what that means to you as a viewer, as an analyst, and as a person. We want to solely understand how can we reduce the cases of smallpox and what is also known as Ongurwa, because this disease attacks the skin. We see people developing patches. Were you attacked by this disease? Because it's not the very first time we are seeing an outbreak of this disease, just like cholera, just like Ebola. It is coming back.
Yeah, talking about smallpox, I've never experienced such kind of disease before, but it's something which is having its own dangers. You have actually spoken about how, of course, it is spreaded, how we can be able to calm the situation down. It has started from our neighboring country, that's DRC. In most cases, whenever there is outbreak of a disease from our neighboring country, DRC or as Democratic Republic of the Congo, it's always very easy for it to spread to that Uganda and also other neighboring countries of Uganda. What does it mean to the Ugandans? What does it mean to the neighboring countries, including DRC, where it has already started? Just simply, you will need to protect yourself, and you have already mentioned some of the ways of how it is spreaded through sexual intercourse.
Those who want to wire around,
and also physical contact. I remember the last time I saw someone with the smallpox was way back in 2011. Up to now, since then up to now, I've not been seeing it, and I've not experienced it, but it's having its effects there. So it's something which is also disastrous. And Ebola, it is I remember it started from DRC. It has to expand to the neighboring countries, and Uganda was widely affected. And this one, of course, will have to raise the eyebrows of people to see that they will now have to start becoming keen and careful, such that we minimize. And also to the people in the neighboring country, DRC, of course, they will have to look at the ways of how they can actually calm the situation. I think the best way could be through vaccination, if I call the drug is there.
You know, talking about this disease that we call monkeypox, many of the times also really because of our proximity with DRC, we may not also really be able to also really avoid some of these diseases, because looking at the border points, our border points are usually said to be porous.
True.
And we also really have Ugandans who are working in DRC as well. We also have Congolese who come to Uganda, and sometimes also really we are the same. Look at the Lugbaras. We have Lugbaras in the border districts of DRC who are also really into DRC, and that means also really we may not be able to solely avoid disease. And that means surveillance at the border points is actually one thing that needs to be upscaled, and this is solely where Minister of Health also needs to come out and explain to the masses in the best language possible for them to understand that also the monkeypox is a disease that can be avoided despite it being a dangerous disease, because over 384 deaths were registered during the last outbreak, and this means also really this disease is a killer disease, and we must also really join hands to eradicate this disease and contain the spreading of this disease, because if at all we do not contain it, then definitely we may have challenges. And that means quite possible, you mentioned a lot of issues that need to be done. First of all, avoiding handshakes, and then close contact is one thing also we need to also embrace, and then avoiding unnecessary sexual intercourse, because this is a disease that can also be spread through sexually. And that is one thing also we need to make sure that we also avoid. For those more so our drivers who love moving from one place to another, we are telling them they need to, for now, also really avoid this unnecessary behavior, and that would also really make us also contract the disease, because this disease, we may be talking about it being in DRC. Little did we know that also, I want to give an example that with what happened during the COVID-19 pandemic. When we had the outbreak of coronavirus, many people were thinking that it is in China, in Wuhan, but little did we know that it would take a little time to also really move and have also really it spread across the world. And that means we must make sure that we avoid the spreading of these diseases, because just like corona, this disease will also really maybe spread across the borders and will also lead to what we call lockdowns, which may not be right. And that is why we are saying people must ensure that they do the right things so that also they get to avoid this disease. I don't know what you can say about it. What would you have maybe as a message for more so our people who are living along the border points of DRC?
Yeah, exactly. Looking at the border points, you look at the Ugandans and also our brothers and sisters from DRC. Border points is actually where they overlap a lot, and businesses are always booming. You see Ugandans going to DRC people also pour into the country in numbers, and in most cases that is how people get into contact with the disease. We have talked about some of the ways of how it is spreaded. You leave aside the issue of sexual intercourse. You take a look at the point of handshake. Generally, physical contact with the person who has already contracted the disease. This one is now upon us to see that we protect ourselves. We may pass the message, and at the end, if people don't utilize the message we are giving to them, of course, it will do nothing. What I can say simply as a message to the viewers, as to the viewer outside there, is all about we have given the message. What you do is you just protect yourself.
Okay, people who are more so the pregnant mothers are on the verge of contracting this disease, because the children also they cannot be spared, and these are the newly born children. If at all the mothers have this disease, they will also really be able to contract the disease in there. And that's why we're saying people must ensure that they take care of themselves, and that is where we call for individual responsibility. You shouldn't wait for the doctors to come and talk to you. You shouldn't wait for maybe running battles with the security operatives, just like that, and that would also really help you avoid the disease, as much as efforts already underway by Ministry of Health through a confirmation, but that's by Lieutenant Colonel Dr. Henry Chiombe, the Chief Epidemiologist at Ministry of Health, who also came out and said that they are going to be doing what it takes to also make sure that they contain the spreading of the disease in the country in there. And that is one thing also we need to look forward. And I don't know what recommendation you will be able to have for government, because earlier on you were making that recommendation for the ordinary people, and then what as a message would you have for government to make sure solely we avoid the spreading of this disease, also it may come as a result of cross-border movements, because our people, much as we are saying this disease also is coming from DRC. Cross-border movements is also something we are seeing, because our people are first of all engaged in trade and farming, because I also do understand that we have some Lubara communities who live around the border points who are doing farming in DRC, and then we also have our Lubara community in DRC who come and do border point farming in Uganda, and they cannot be stopped from moving because it is their right. And that is one thing also we need to understand, and also make sure that they also get to understand, because they may move with this disease from there and bring it to here or else, and that would also mean maybe someone who is moving from here may also go and contact this from there. As government, what message would you have for government? At
this particular moment, the government of both DRC and Uganda will have to come in so many ways. First of all, they will have to come up with a drug. I know the issue of drug is actually a responsibility of World Health Organization, but they will have to collaborate with the government of Uganda and the DRC to see that they come up with that specific drug to vaccinate people. That is one way of calming down the matter. Second one is the issue we have just been talking about, the issues at the border point. That is another thing. The government representatives from the above countries, DRC and Uganda, will have to come to see that they calm the situation at the border point. Like, they may not completely stop people from going to the, or migrating to the neighboring country, but they should look at some ways of how they can actually calm the situation at the border point. Thirdly is also, like you have said, there are some Ugandans who are doing farming in DRC, others also doing farming from this side of Uganda. You cannot say that someone is having a cassava plantation, maybe maize plantation that side of DRC, because of the outbreak of it, you don't have to now access the area or else the country. No, it cannot happen. What we only do is we will have to abide by the laws, abide by the ways of how we can calm the situation. And it all goes, like you said, to us to see that we protect ourselves. And you know, we Africans, we have that tendency of always sharing things, more especially like spoons. You know, there are some people still in villages, they love bathing or showering themselves from the streams like that. You see that, like me, after using the sponge, you will ask from me. That's how mostly those things are spreaded. Like, if smallpox happens to reach in a family, of course it is very easy for it to spread, because mostly
sharing the buckets.
Yeah, exactly. That is the way. So this is the message. It's just direct. You take it, whereas we leave it. But our message is you have to take it.
Yes, taking care of yourself is the way to go, because many of the times, Benson, you are talking about sharing these other resources, but sometimes handshakes is where the problem is coming from, because people feel if at all you are not giving them the hand to greet them, and given our culture, people will say that this man's son is very, very much bad. He doesn't want to greet people, and really that is where we are seeing also the outbreak of the disease also really spreading very much faster. And with that, we want to say people must now avoid and understand that much as we are avoiding handshakes, it is because we now want to avoid also us contracting these diseases in there.
For COVID virus, we had the face mask, and for this one, I don't know the gadget they will actually give for people.
Okay, that is what we also really are waiting from Ministry of Health to come and also really explain to the people and make the masses also really understand that they need to prepare and protect themselves from the monkeypox, which is also really a disease that also really causes patches on the skins, where you see people developing white patches. It means that also really this disease has been in there. And earlier on you mentioned that you last saw a person with it also 10 years ago. I don't actually remember the last time I saw a person with this disease, and that means already the disease is also really returning back. For those who contracted, because the last time I saw it, I was in primary. I don't also remember how many years that was. But we are saying people must make sure that they protect themselves, so that they will not be able to be counted on the numbers of people who are infected with this disease in there, and that would also really mean a lot. And now, leaving that aside, still related to what is happening in the world of that is health, Uganda met with 180 that shortage of health workers. It's also another story that we are seeing on the past morning. The numbers of doctors also really is said to be very few. And if you look at 180,000, that shortage is quite huge. What can you say about it?
Every year, every decade, Uganda is always having the tendency of inadequate of health workers. What does it mean? Not only to the government of Uganda, but also to the masses, more especially those ones who are at the school, the health workers, not the health workers yet, the students who are studying health. That one is now a responsibility not only to the government, but to the whole mass we have in the country. Because you cannot say that, hey, come and do the work of being a health worker. It needs a lot of knowledge, and it's true. All over the country, we need to now start recruiting or nurturing so many health workers if we really need to come out from that wrangle of inadequate of health workers.
Yes, that brings me to the point that we are seeing so many schools emerging. These are health schools that also really are emerging, and each and every year they are also really releasing graduates. But the numbers also really continue to also really hit the country. It means that doesn't mean that also the government is not maybe recruiting these people, because we are seeing at least the number of professionals coming out from these schools is increasing, because each and every time we are seeing a graduation party from these schools here. What does that mean?
You know, being a health worker, there are different categories of being a health worker. You might be a nurse, you might be a doctor.
But these are all health workers.
They are all health workers, and you know the work a doctor does can't be done by a nurse. The work rather a nurse does can be done by a doctor. What does it mean? It means people will have to upgrade. You might finish your senior 4, senior 6, you go for nursing course, but you may not be in a position to do so many things in health work. That means the standard of working in the Department of Health is still minimum in the country, and this is now a responsibility to the students who are studying, others who have just graduated but their academic paper might be minimum in terms of standard. It's upon us to see that we actually uplift in the standard of our academic papers, because someone who has just graduated from the sector of nursing can't be taken directly to work as a doctor. And it's not the responsibility of the government, it's a responsibility of both the students, those ones who have just graduated, who continues to study science, maybe health department thing, with government to see that they actually solve that matter, to see that we actually increase on the number of health workers in the country. Okay,
talking about what is happening in the world of sports, now let's leave it there. We did also see the president, His Excellency Dr. Museveni, urging young people to engage in early marriage. I don't know what you think about that. And this follows where young adults in Uganda are increasingly also delaying marriage, with the median age of 25 also saying, also that's according to government, where these are also said to be delaying marriage in there. And this trend mirrors a global pattern where young people also waiting for their late 20s and late early 30s to also get married in there. What is the right age for somebody to get married? Because we need to understand this. Because me right now, somebody will be asking, is the one who is talking married, or is he not married? Definitely I wouldn't also wish to talk about that. But we are getting to realize that people are delaying marriage, where we are seeing people also waiting for their late 20s and early 30s to also now start thinking about marriage. What is the right age for somebody to get married?
First of all, the question is it true that people are delaying marriage?
Yes, that is the truth.
And is there any specific age for people to get married? Which to me I will say no, because marriage is not like going for something, because first of all, before you get married, you need to first plan yourself, whether you are a lady, or you are a guy, or a boy, or as a man. We have seen some people in their 60s getting married. Marriage is not something which comes just abruptly. Of course, you will have to plan yourself. And the president himself saying that people are actually delaying marriage, I will not go with that, because it needs preparation.
Yes.
Yeah.
He actually mentioned a number of factors as contributing to that factor. We have financial dependence, which is already has money issues, because one person may think that before I get married, I first need to have millions maybe in my accounts. I need to have a stable source of income that would also make me get married. And then the issue of premarital sex is also another that has also been identified as a factor to contributing to these delays. I don't know what is also all this about, because we are saying much as people are out there, they must make sure that they get married, because our sisters, you know, that when they clock 30, that is when the pressure now starts mounting on them, and that's where we start seeing them also going with whoever wants to come. And that is also the one reason also that I believe also has been contributing to that. And that, to me, I would say people must get married when the right time comes. And if at all I want to get married to you, please do not hesitate. And if at all maybe I feel I'm right to get married, I must get married. And that would also really mean such factors may not be able to solely maybe also indicate to the fact also that we are seeing many people also engaging in the marriage delays in there. Now the president is saying, do not delay marriage, make sure that you get married early. And I believe this is coming with its own advantages, and I would also already mention to you advantage of early marriages. First of all, if at all you get the right partners, you are going to be avoiding temptations outside wedlock in there. And that is one thing also really we need to understand, because you're not going to be eating from outside. And definitely you know that at home I have my woman, I have my man, whom I have to also really prepare myself for. And definitely that is also going to be helping you first of all in spending monies, because if you are dating, you know that also you are spending a lot of monies. And today we have people who are spending more monies than also really them being in marriages. And that is why we're saying they have girlfriends, but they fear that they cannot get married because they feel marriage is more expensive, which may not be the reality, because I feel definitely if at all you get married, you are going to be planning your money for your family, and not also spending it on the girlfriends or boyfriends unnecessarily in there. What do you think about it?
Someone will also speak the opposite part of it by saying that when you are not married, of course, you can be able to keep your money. First of all, there are so many things people look in marriage. First of all, what is marriage? What does it require? And at the same time, you know, marriage is a permanent life where you marry, you will have to get old with your partner.
They usually say it's for better for worse. But is that the same case today? Because today we are seeing marriage being on contract basis, where we are seeing
exactly that was
each and every time. At least I see nikas or weddings perhaps that have not lasted, and that means there's a message that is being passed in there. Because last year I saw a number of marriages which today are normal.
Even of late, people cannot, I should say men, they cannot even afford to acquire 4 to 5 goats to take to the owners of the lady. And have you realized that 70% of the marriage people, they are suffering and they don't last in marriage? Why is it? Why does it happen that way? It means maybe they might have not prepared themselves. That's why I was saying that marriage actually needs you to first plan yourself, and also the both parties to first plan before actually you get into it, because it's something which is permanent. It's not like going for studies, you come back like that. No, it's something permanent. You need time for it.
But sometimes, Benson, we have partners who are ready and willing to build marriages. Meanwhile, on the other side, their spouses may not be ready for this. What can you say about it? And I believe that is something that also really is causing problems out there today, because they feel this may not work out for them. They feel scared. How can we remove that fear off people's minds? Because I believe, I want to side with the president. I want to also really understand and believe that early marriage is actually right.
Of late, people fear marriage. I agree with you. But you know, before you get married, there are so many things you will have to learn with your partner. You will have to know about your partner before you get married. Like at the beginning, before marriage, there is what we call, people say, love. Love comes with so many things, and there is also love in marriage. Like I may start falling in love with a lady, reaching in the middle, the lady will start disappointing me, and towards the end, things get spoiled. You know, getting a partner right from the love and up to the time of the marriage is something not easy. You will have to sweat a lot, both as the lady and also as the boyfriend, I should say like that. You sweat a lot, because for someone to say that, okay, I want to now marry you, or as I will marry you, it's not easy. Like today, someone will tell you that you will be my husband, or as you will be my woman, or as a wife. But after a week, or as 2 days, or as 2 weeks, 1 month, you see things are spoiled. And some of these things, relationship, they actually break towards the end of everything. Like towards you people getting married, you find things are spoiled. It's not marriage is a process. It comes from love. It continues like this before you get married.
That brings me to a point where today we are seeing some of the young girls saying that they do not want to get married to these young boys because they feel these young boys are just going to play with their minds. How true is that? Because we have today ladies who are going for older men, married men, and that means certainly today they no longer trust the young men, and they are leaving the young men actually unmarried. What can you say about it? Because sometimes the young men are saying that they are going because of money. And how do we make sure these two are put aside so that sorry, the issues and the dreams of the president for not delaying marriage already is achieved?
And is it true that young men are actually playing with the minds of these?
This is what the ladies say. This is what they say.
That is their saying. That is their view. That is their opinion. And the way as the young men, we also coming with the opposite part of it, saying that young ladies, these days you cannot get a good lady. What? It happens. It happens in a contrary way. The other party is blaming this one. The other party is blaming this one. But at the end, if you understand yourselves, of course, you will be in a very good marriage. It's all about understanding. You know, this thing of saying that this one doesn't make a good marriage, it's just all about that negative ideology, mentality you possess. But if you believe in your partner, you can build a good family.
So can you change a partner? That brings me to the question, can you change that partner whom you think is not right for marriage to a marriage material? Because usually there are people who call themselves husband materials, and you find them moving in the streets calling themselves husband material or wife materials. Because this song, wife material, there has become wife material. But who exactly is a wife material? And if at all this woman you're seeing not being a wife material, how do you make sure that you turn this person to be that kind of material that you want?
You know, people have got different perceptions about others. Like I may say this one is a wife material, but for you, you might be having a different perception, thinking about the one whom I think is a good wife material. It's all about the perception you develop about someone. But indeed, there are some guys, there are some ladies, you look at them like this, they are very responsible, but in that responsibility, marriage is all about, so many people will define marriage in different ways, and it has got its own things. Like someone will say so and so's wife, so and so's girlfriend is behaving in awkward manner, sorry to use that term, but for the other one will start also admiring the behaviors of the girl or of the guy. It's all about the perception, ideology, mentality you develop about someone.
So finally, as we get summarized this hour, what is the right age you feel somebody should get married at?
Me, I would say there is no specific age for someone to get married. It depends on who you want to marry. Are you ready financially in terms of everything? Though most of the people believe that for a lady it should start from, me, I say general, there is no specific age for marriage.
Okay,
Yeah.
that is your own opinion.
What of you?
That is your own opinion, but I feel a lady should get married below the age of 30 years because usually we know ladies, they grow older than men. And for a man, I can wait for 45 and still get married. That brings us to the end of that discussions. As the viewer, if at all you have anything that you feel you need to put forward, feel free to drop it on our comment section. That is also really where you can be able to watch us. On Facebook, we are there. TikTok also really as well, and YouTube, not forgetting Twitter. We are all there to also really make sure that we see some of your topic and maybe your comments in relation to some of the issues that we are discussing here. And earlier on, we are discussing a lot of issues, and that brings us to the end of the first half of the second hour. And up next, we are still going to be continuing with Dr. Benson Pastore as he has prepared what is happening in the world of sports for you, and he will be unfolding that in the second hour, in the last hours of the show. For now, let's have this short commercial breather as we bounce back shortly.
West Nile TV, lighting up the region.
Mbappe, Cristiano Ronaldo, Harry Kane, Sané, Griezmann, Lewandowski, and many more. Mbappe! Who is your European star? We are very familiar with all German stadia. Trust us to give you the best Euro experience affordably. Catch the matches live on NBA Sport, channel 255 on antenna or channel 199 on Dish Decoder on Star Times. We got your stars. This message is brought to you by StarTimes Solar. StarTimes Solar, more than just solar.
West Nile TV, lighting up the region.
Alright, welcome back to this KOKOLIRIKO live show, and we still hope that you are still locked, that is to our channel 477 on Star Times, as we get to move towards the evening of the show. And this is where we are still going to be letting you know of some of the issues that also really that could be happening in the world there. And that is one thing also really why we are here, because our issues must make sure that we discuss them also really appropriately in there. And that is where we tackle issues related to politics. We also really go to our social lives, and earlier on we are also doing that in terms of also really marriage, where we asked what is the right age for somebody out there to get married at, because given the fact that totally sometimes women, once they clock certain ages, people start looking at them, you find men looking at them and saying, look at this woman, he's not married, he's growing old. And this is where society also sometimes causes stigma to people who are unmarried, and that is one thing also we have often seen happening. And this is where people also get to go through a lot. And today, given the fact that we are having so many single mothers, it means many people are also not married much as they are engaging to children and also production of children in there. And that is already one thing we are looking to, we are also getting to realize these days as a fact, also as a challenge of not getting married early in there. And that leads to also the unnecessary relationships, which at the end of the day also causes depression. Because if I told you don't get married early, Benson, I want to sort of tell you that this is something that could also really cause depression. And now that is where also I need to engage you briefly in relation to what we are also discussing here. Because if I told you don't get early married, maybe married early, what are some of those disadvantages that could also really have on you as a person?
You know, not getting married early, it comes with its own advantages and also disadvantages. The disadvantages are so many, advantages also so many. Like I said, it depends on how you are, who you are, I should say like that. There are people who have not got married and live a comfortable life. But if you are someone who is...
But Benson, you cannot live comfortable if at all you're not married, because we need the support of each other. God created Adam and Eve, and that is why we're saying we must make sure that we are together. And our laws actually do not permit the other kind of marriages we are talking about, which the world is trying to promote. And our marriages and our cultures are saying marriage is strictly between a man and a woman, and what you lack, it is the woman that definitely is supposed to give you that.
Now, for people who cannot get married early,
will they have peace? That brings me the question, will they have peace?
Maybe.
Will they have the happiness? Will they have the enjoyments?
Mostly the pressure comes, I've seen the pressure sometimes coming from their relatives. You will see their relatives pressurizing them, you're already old, you need to get married, you need to pay for us dowry. The pressure will be a lot, not only for the ladies, not only on the ladies, but also
on the men
themselves. Like you have said, I agree with you, marriage is for everyone. When the right time comes, you need to get married such that you will relieve yourself out of the depression and also the pressure coming from the people.
And to the people who have been forcing others to get married, we are saying marriage is not by force. Marriage is a right that we must also not force people onto. Because if I told you you're going to be forcing people for unnecessary marriages, what if they go and crash? Definitely that is where challenges also could be coming from. And we also do not want to encourage early marriages. For instance, for those who are below the age of 18, definitely we are saying you must make sure that you attain whatever you want to attain before engaging in such marriages in there, and that would also really make you... never right. And I really feel that is one thing also we need to talk about as we get to move on with the show. And as we leave that aside and looking at what is happening at the Karamoja Iron Sheet scandal, this matter is still not yet addressed. And now we are seeing in a twist of corruption case against former Karamoja Affairs Minister, that is Agnes Goreti Kitutu. The court has ordered that inspection of that of the 1,617 iron sheets allegedly recovered from her farm. And the iron sheets is already a key evidence in the case, and the court will verify the availability and the number at the Chibuli also Criminal Investigation Department on July 4th in there. And this is also something we are going to be seeing this week on Thursday as investigation on Monday granted the state's application to inspect the exhibits and also reciting their bulkiness, and that means also really we need to understand what exactly is happening in Karamoja, and is it right for these MPs to also really allocate certain amounts of iron sheets for themselves? What can you say about it? Because this matter has not been disposed of. It is still a matter at the disposal of the courts of law as we continue to follow up on that matter till the last drop.
Exactly, the matter is still pending. I can say the corruption tendency in the country will not come to an end, because every time, every month, we are addressing this matter of the corruption, another one is coming. I think it has put the likes of Tutu on pressure to see when, of course, it will be coming to an end. I think the pressure is mounting, but there will come a time it will come to an end. But as that one is coming to an end, you also see another corruption tendency arising. What I can say is we need to calm the matter of corruption tendencies, but it will not come to an end. It is the worst of it, because iron seats being given to vulnerable people who are living miserable life, and for you who has at least achieved something, who is living a good life, you take it away. That is more than being corrupt, I should say.
It is a curse. Yeah, it is actually a curse for the next generation of your children, of maybe people who may come after you, because this paints a bad image. And when you talk about corruption, it means that me and you have a role to play in terms of solely eradicating this vice, because corruption has actually put the country lag behind. And when you talk about the poverty index today, partly corruption has solely contributed to that, because money that was initially meant to benefit certain people do not actually have this money received, and that is where misappropriation of these funds also really could be causing also the poverty index in there. And that is why we're saying me and you have a role to play in terms of also really eradicating the issues about corruption. And we may not talk much about that, because the matter is still in courts of law, but really when an issue arises in relation to that, we shall also still come back here and keep you informed. And now to summarize the discussions for today with what is happening in the world of sports, and I do understand that the ball games too for regional secondary schools did come to an end yesterday, and the Euros are still continuing, and yesterday we also did have games as well, and recently we also did see the Black Angels being promoted the second tier of Ugandan League, that is the 4 big league, and that is already where we are going to be having 4 teams. Benson, what does this mean for us to have 4 teams as West Nile sub-region for the very first time after a long period of time, where we shall be having Arua Hills Sports Club, Ondobraga Football Club also will be coming through, and Midgo Calvary, and as well as the Black Angels will be representing West Nile sub-region at the second tier of the Ugandan League in there. As much as we do not have any team that is also representing at the top tier, which is the first tier, which is also known as the Premier League, but we are having teams in the second tier. What does it mean, and how stiff is the competition going to be like?
Having 4 teams from West Nile in FUFA Big League speaks volume about West Nile as far as sports is concerned, and at the same time, it also spice up the vibe in the region as far as sports is concerned. That means we'll be having so many derbies on the Paracas of this world by the Black Angels. You talk about Calvary. In case of Arua Hill Sports Club will also be bouncing back, because the chance is still 50-50. That means people, of course, in the region, they will have to start impressing sports. It's not all about sending the teams in the top tier leagues. It's all about maintaining the clubs, because we have seen some of the clubs going higher, and at the end you see them coming down or as being relegated. What I can say is they are there. They should look for a way of maintaining themselves within the league, or as going to the top tier, that's StarTimes Uganda Premier League.
Okay, talking about that, I don't know how ready the fans are in terms of so really making sure that we prepare for these derbies. Are we not going to be seeing issues of fights amongst the fans?
Yeah, for the fans, you know, fans generally in the whole of West Nile region, the fans, they love soccer, they love sports a lot. You look at the situation at Ondoparaka. There was a time Ondoparaka was almost going down, but fans, of course, they were hard to engulf the club, and the club started performing very well. From the sector of the fans, of course, they are ready for these clubs. The only thing remaining is for the administrators to keep the clubs, to maintain the clubs. Okay. Where they are.
Okay, you and Koboko for the ball games that did end. How did it exactly go? Maybe if you can be able to give us highlights and insights on some of the teams that won the games yesterday and some of the trophies that they could have actually won for their schools.
Fortunately or unfortunately, the ball game too for Western region, it has been dominated by the schools. In Arua City, you talk about athletics, it has been won by both the girls and also the boys. That is the gongs for athletics. And meanwhile, in netball, in the past few seasons, it has always been dominated by the team, the school of Arua Public. And also yesterday, we saw them winning the regionals after beating Vareses in the finals. Meanwhile, the basketball also been won by St. Joseph's College on Batsi, because for a long period of time they have been so quiet as far as sports is concerned. They have bounced back, winning the basketball at the inter-city level, and this time at the regional level. I think congratulations to them. Most of the trophies, they all came to Arua City, with the exception of only one that was valuable, that went that side of Yumbe. That means Arua City is performing very well as far as sports for schools is concerned, not only for secondary schools, but also for the primary kids.
Okay, Benson, if you can maybe take us through also what is happening in the world of Euros, because the Euros are still ongoing.
Yeah, talking about Euros, it's getting so interesting and very tense. Yesterday night we saw Portugal going ahead through penalty shootout, and also Austria will be playing Netherlands today, and also Romania having also a game. But the biggest of it is all about with the performance from these various countries, who will at the end be a winner. Right now people are looking at Germany as the favorites, because teams like England, France, they keep on picking struggling results. But the next stage it is reaching is actually the quarter-final stages. It's getting interesting.
Okay, talking about that, and that's where we also really want to summarize that discussion with. But before we get to move on, I believe after the Euros, definitely the English Premier League will be returning. And how prepared are the teams in the market, and how busy is the transfer market this season? Maybe as we get to finalize with today's discussions, as we just left with about 1 minute to wind up with today's discussions.
Matthias, the European Champions is going on in Germany, and at the same time Copa America teams, they have started the preparation, the likes of Aston Villa, Juventus, and the recent thing is all about Juventus acquiring the services of Douglas Luiz from the team of Aston Villa. Chelsea almost at the verge of completing the player Delbury Hall, who was actually championship player and also players player. Teams are busy. Manchester United, they have not signed any player. Arsenal still pending. Chelsea, they have signed Aston Villa. They will be representing England come next season in UEFA Champions League. And also after Euros, the teams will be bouncing back for the pre-season games. After that, the one you actually mentioned, the famous one, English Premier League, will be bouncing back. What I can say is, sports-wise, things are getting so interesting.
Okay, your final words as we get move on with the show.
What I can say to the viewer or as to the viewers outside there is, world is dynamic. It keeps on changing each and every time in the sectors of politics, socio-economic issues, and also sports world. What you only do is always keep yourself updated, either via your phone or its internet or it's through watching Western television, where of course we bring you what continues to transpire in the world, in the KOKOLIRIKO. So, all
right, thank you so much, Benson, for coming through on this Tuesday edition for the KOKOLIRIKO live show, and I hope you as the viewer had a wonderful time. And that brings us to the end of today's discussion. But before we get to remove that, my addition to you is that more details that will be coming through on the Wishu Time, that will be coming through with Linda Susie together with Owen Ezaga from the hour of 2 to 3 p.m. And that's where they will be giving that comprehensive and detailed analysis of what is happening in the world of sports. But before we get move on, I just want to remind the Arsenal fans, those who thought that Santi Cazorla will be adding on their technical team in there, that will not be possible, because he has already extended his contract at where he has been, and more details will also really be coming through still on the Wishu Time. That is 2 to 3 p.m. with Owen Ezaga and Linda Susie. From me to you, have yourselves a good day, and we shall be bouncing back tomorrow on the same time on the same show. That is the KOKOLIRIKO live show. Goodbye.